Hello everyone and welcome to Why It's Rad, where I pick a game that I think is awesome and pick out 6 reasons why that is. And in honour of the release of the Resident Evil 3 remake, I decided to look back a year and explain why the last Resident Evil remake was so great. I was late to the party on this one, but once I did play it, I knew it was something special. If you're somehow unfamiliar with Resident Evil and its history, it's a zombie horror series centered on a revolving door set of protagonists and an evil corporation named Umbrella. Resident Evil 2 originally launched in 1998 for the PlayStation and starred Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield, a cop and a student respectively, caught up in the horrors of a zombie outbreak. In 2019, another game called Resident Evil 2 was made. This was a drastically updated version of the game, shifting from fixed cameras to an over-the-shoulder view, and generally bringing the game up to date with modern sensibilities. And the Resident Evil 2 remake is pretty damn rad, and here, let me explain why. Back on the PS1, characters looked a bit rubbish. The system was capable of displaying about 10 polygons at once, which meant that Leon and Claire looked a bit like Lego people who'd been sitting by the fire a bit too long. On the PS4 and the Xbox One, however, human faces can be rendered better than actual human faces. And boy does that show in Leon and Claire this time around. They're both beautiful people now, and their facial animations have been lovingly crafted to make it feel like you want to smooch them. But do not smooch them, for they are not real. I mean, there's a reason why they're so beautiful, as both of them were modelled on, well, models. Edward Badaluta and Jordan McEwen had their faces scanned in, and so it's kind of no surprise their characters ended up looking like they also have their own Instagram accounts. But it was 1998, so the internet was still in black and white and steam powered at the time, so that's not the case. But also they gave them much more sensible outfits to go along with their much more improved faces. Leon doesn't begin the game dressed as a cop until he arrives at the station, and Claire is no longer wearing an impractical shorts and vest combo and now rocks a leather jacket and jeans. This is kind of a small thing, but it is a nice improvement, and of course you can unlock the old outfits if you really must wear those. There was a risk with getting beautiful people to lend their faces to Leon and Claire, and that's the possibility of them never getting dirty. And in a game about surviving in a gross zombie apocalypse, that would be incredibly weird. Well, good news, Capcom did not shy away from making these two look like they've been through hell and back. Claire, for instance, by the end of the game gets her face scuffed up, her jacket is largely black, her jeans are largely brown, even her hair kind of ends up looking like it hasn't been washed in days by how it looks greasier and more clumped together as the game goes on. And in fact, this seems to be the art direction for the entire game. The zombies are uncomfortably bloody and rotted, the lickers are a whole new realm of grisly and gross. William Birkin's transformation is even more horrific than ever before. Even the police station, ravaged by blood and storms, looks thoroughly disgusting, and the sewers rather pointedly have you wading through literal shit now. Raccoon City is truly an unpleasant place to be now, and for this it sells itself much better than the original game.
Oh my god, Becky, look at her
burger. Pretty faces and gruesome horrors are one thing, but if a game's rendering a burger that meticulously, you know you're onto a winner. Between this and Devil May Cry 5's Pizza, I want to know who decided the RE engine absolutely needed to render food as realistically as possible. Yes, this is my real point. What's wrong with that? Yes, we've all heard the DMX memes, and yes, technically his name isn't Mr. X, but that isn't going to stop anyone calling him that. But Mr. X is one of the most memorable parts of the game. Obviously he's not new, but what is new is his fancy new hat, which makes him kind of adorable this time. And naturally any sensible person's first reaction will be, Jesus, stay back! But their second reaction should be, can I shoot his hat? And the answer is yes. That's the good news. The even better news is this makes him more determined to hunt you down. That's his favourite hat. How dare you? Clearly, you are the real monster here. This neat little touch is enough to make me forgive him for trying to smash my face in while I try and move some bookcases around. Almost. Played the original game and feel that playing the remake isn't worth your time? Oh ye of little faith, are you in for a treat? Capcom built a new game that just happens to share a setting with a game from 1998. And I don't just mean the shifting camera angle to have you looking over the protagonist's shoulders. There is plenty for veterans to discover, even if you played the game so much your slowly dying PS1 started burning holes in the disc. The game even plays with your expectations a little based on your familiarity of the original game. For example, remember that bit in the original when you first encountered a licker? That sure was something, right? Well, they did it again, and they added even more clues that the liquor was around and ready to attack you. You ready yourself, and then absolutely nothing. No liquor. And the game leaves no indication of when you'll encounter one again, until you reach a random corridor later on and one just jumps at you from the shadows. Trolling your players, Capcom. Now you're speaking my language. And yet, despite so many changes, Resident Evil 2 remains familiar. At its core, the original game saw you gradually opening up a non-linear location with items and keys, and running around remembering where stuff needed to be used, while maintaining a good hold on your ammo and health supplies was crucial. At its core, the remake is exactly the same game. You have the police station, an area where much of it is locked off to you at the start, but as you explore, more of it opens up to you. You even get to loop back around to the police station once you get to the sewer so you can sweep up some extra goodies from safes you may have missed the first time around. And honestly, it's been a while since we've had a game like this. A game which challenges you to remember your way around and become intimately familiar with the locations that you're travelling around in. A game which makes you stop and consider where you're going and what you're doing instead of just mindlessly following quest markers. A game that's tightly directed and offers a clear route of progression over a vast open world that exists so developers can show off how big their open world is. Compare this to the original release where only a year later the industry had at least 4 titles using Resident Evil's formula. 20 years later, Resident Evil 2 stands alone in an industry full of live services and open world tedium, and it's nice to have this style of game back again in the AAA space. And with Resident Evil 3 now out, we'll have another one. And hopefully it'll help to reveal that this kind of game is still desired and still rakes in sales and critical acclaim. You only need to realise that Resident Evil 2 is the highest rated game on Metacritic for 2019 to recognise this. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see something similar with Resident Evil 3, although I suspect a certain other remake will probably end up higher than it. But anyway, I loved every minute of the Resident Evil 2 remake. It is a celebration of a 20-year-old title with still plenty to love for those who never touched the original. This is how all remakes should be, in my opinion. And that, my friends, is why Resident Evil 2 is rad.